No way he just said this as we get set for Canada and the United States later on tonight while recapping Sweden in Finland, and we'll go over all the quotes heading into tonight's Canada-US matchup. But before all that, if you haven't subscribed here to the channel already, make sure you do so. If you're part of the 80% that haven't subscribed, folks, what are you waiting for? But we'd also like to say thank you for each and every one of you who have subscribed to the channel for any and all Oiler content. Even during the Four Nations face-off here, there is no NHL trade free, so anything could happen at any given moment, and Oilers Digest is here to cover it. But without further ado, let's get into one instant classic that we saw earlier this afternoon, and we may see another one later on tonight with Sweden. Are they finished? Yes, the Scandinavian duo took on each other in Montreal earlier today, and Sweden on the opposite side of overtime yet again. Another 4-3 overtime loss to Team Finland. So Sweden all but out of this mini tournament here. Is Finland still alive with a chance to potentially go to the championship game next Thursday if all the stars align for them? But again, a very tough road for both countries after today, especially going into overtime as they lose the extra point for winning in regulation with the 3 points and only 2 points for the winner. But the scoring summary here, Mika Zibanejad opens it up for Team Sweden there. Meanwhile, Anton Lundell and Mikko Rantanen make it 2-1 Finland before the end of the first period. Team Sweden took the lead with goals from Rasmus Dahlin and Erik Karlsson, both defensemen. They're taking the charge here for Team Sweden. Meanwhile, Alexander Barkov ties it up at 3. There was no scoring in the third period, but Mikael Granlund on a 2-on-1 beats Linus Ullmark, making 4-3 Finland. Of course, Philip Gustafsson did start the game for Team Sweden, but 2 goals on 4 shots for Team Finland after the first period. He was yanked in favor of Linus Ullmark there, but the goaltending change did not help Sweden get the win today. And of course, the game stats here for both teams very evenly matched: 24-21 in favor of Team Sweden. Shots on goal 28-23. Of course, Finland laying the body early in the game. Finland also taking the faceoffs 32-23. Finland going 1 for 2 compared to Sweden going 0 for 2 on their power plays. But again, very evenly matched here when it comes to the deserved win-o-meter on Money Puck. I thought it was a lot closer than 56% for Finland in favor of Sweden's 43%, but just looking at the advanced analytics there, I've sort of highlighted the key stats here. Of course, Corsi for percentage, very close, 52-47, Fenwick for 52-47, shots for 53-46, scoring chances for 46-53 in favor of Finland, and then high danger chances for is really the only statistic, the only category where Finland took advantage of, and really that's about it. And Finland also took advantage of having their big players making big plays. Meanwhile, Sweden, very different from the way they played Canada, where their big names did big time things. But looking here again at the advanced analytics, Mattias Ekholm, fantastic game against Canada, one of the best players on the ice for both teams. Meanwhile, Victor Arvidsson, again, a very non-eventful game for him. Had a key chance in the second period, but just fell over after taking a shot. If that doesn't sum up his season, I don't know what will. But of course, Ekholm, 43% Corsi for percentage. He was on for a goal again. Same with Victor Arvidsson there. Of course, Mattias Ekholm on one of the finished goals. I do believe it was the Alexander Barkov goal in the second period. Could have tied up someone in front, but just sort of let him sneak right on in through, and for the tap-in on Linus Ullmark there, which is strange considering, Ekholm in Karlsson a little better, analytically wise, but of course, the big time players for Sweden, of course, just not producing. Elias Pettersson, Ricardo Kjell, Ekholm, Arvidsson, even Elias Lindholm, just not as strong of a game for them today. But for Team Sweden and Team Finland, like I mentioned, they are both not out of it, just need some magic to happen. Of course, Sweden's final game is against the Americans, and then Canada and Finland do take on each other on Monday. So again, the stars need to align for both teams for any resemblance of them for being in the championship game. But of course, Sweden and Finland, always a fantastic game. There is not much more that I need to say about this game other than many were writing it off as, both teams, the little brothers of the tournament, but always a fantastic game on the international scale. But it's the main event tonight. It is Canada and the United States with McDavid against Matthews, Eichel against McKinnon. Lots lots of storylines tonight for both teams. But when it comes to the history of both nations, the 1996 World Cup with the Americans taking advantage of the Canadians, and then the 2002 Olympics where Canada got their first gold in 50 years, and then 2010 with Canada in US in Vancouver. Lots of storylines coming out of that one. But when it comes to Matthews in McDavid, Matthews seeing how special Connor McDavid exactly is with a sit-down interview with the Athletic, and he had this to say. He said, "I think our relationship has grown a lot. I definitely think it's evolved, and I think there's a mutual respect and appreciation for one another. I know for myself, spending time with him, I always find hockey, for the most part, we talk about a lot of stuff, but I just find getting his perspective on different things is pretty cool. You learn a lot just by bouncing things off of each other. He is who he is because of the work ethic he puts in, and obviously, he's a special talent with the consistency of everything like that. I just find any time I spend time with him, I'm always learning different things. Of course, back in the 80s, you have a Canadian and an American, sort of dissecting the game with each other. Everyone would think they're traitors, but it's nice to see the bond that both of them share, despite, having country differences within the country, and of course the background noise surrounding both nations. So it's just it's cool for both of them to put that aside and just talk about the game in a way that many not a lot of duos do talk about within the game, and the superstar power between both of them adding on. We talk about the game a lot and maybe how he sees it. Obviously his skill sets, nobody really has that kind of skill set, just hearing how he thinks the game or maybe how he likes whatever, whereas wingers are on the breakout, different stuff like that. It's always interesting to hear his perspective on different things, and it's always interesting how Matthews will apply that knowledge to how he plays against Team Canada and Connor McDavid tonight. And even if Canada does lose tonight to the United States, they will advance to the championship game if they beat Finland in regulation on Monday. But still, lots of stakes for both teams tonight. A loss in this tournament does go a long way, but just taking a look at Team Canada tonight, Brady Tkachuk, Jack Eichel, and Matthew Tkachuk, a line that I think will give Canada a lot of problems if they're not able to contain them. Jake Guentzel, Auston Matthews, and Jack Hughes, JT Miller, Dylan Larkin, Matt Boldy, and Brock Nelson, Vincent Trocheck, and Kyle Connor. It's always a stacked team when you see Kyle Connor on the forward line, just a pure goal scorer. Him in the bottom six, again, top to bottom. The Americans, one of the deepest teams in the entire tournament, if not the deepest team, and they will give Canada a lot of issues tonight on the back end here. It gets even worse. Zach Werenski and Charlie McAvoy, Noah Hannafin and Adam Fox, and then Jacob Slavin and Brock Faber. Of course, the only way for Canada to sort of get any momentum in this game, they have to wear down this D-core here and force them to take penalties, because of course if you put Canada on the power play, it's very hard to defend that, as you saw Sweden try to do that Wednesday night, and it took Canada only 10 seconds to score on the power play. So if you let that power play cook for an even longer amount of time, it will be very dangerous. But between the pipes for the Americans, this is where they take solace. They have Connor Hellebuyck, who in the tournament right now only gave one goal to the Finns and has a save percentage of .952. So it'll be very interesting to see Connor Hellebuyck against better competition in the tournament. No disrespect to Team Finland at all, but I mean that was sort of a gimme for him to open up the four nations face-off. Meanwhile, Canada on the other side, they have a few lineup changes here. They're keeping the top six intact here with Sam Reinhart, Connor McDavid, and Mitch Marner, Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and Mark Stone. But they have switched it up with an all Tampa Bay third line here: Brandon Hagel, Anthony Cirelli, in Braden Point, and then the fourth line here, the biggest change: Brad Marchand, Sam Bennett coming in here for Travis Konechny, and Seth Jarvis completes the Canadian forward core. Now on the back end, this is where it gets a little dicey. Of course, Cale Makar, experiencing an illness. He is a game time decision tonight, and if not, Thomas Harley, the Canadian seventh defenseman, will draw in to the lineup. Of course, the NHL made the rules, a little opaque here when it comes to what Thomas Harley can and cannot do. Cale Makar is on the ice and during practice. Thomas Harley cannot also be out there with him too, but it's Devon Toews and hopefully Cale Makar, of course, being a game time decision, Josh Morrissey and Colton Parayko, and then Travis Sanheim coming in here for Shea Theodore. Of course, Shea Theodore out with a wrist injury week to week here for the Vegas Golden Knights when the tournament does end. So, of course, a lot of changes here on the back end, and there will be no changes between the crease tonight for Team Canada, with Jordan Pennington, of course, had a stellar overtime session, but the rest of the game against Team Sweden, I felt he was a little shaky, but with an 885 and a 273, but John Cooper thought otherwise. He said he confirmed that Jordan Binnington starts tonight again for Team Canada. Watch the overtime. That said it all for me. He deserves it. Of course, many were calling for Aiden Hill to start tonight over Jordan Binnington, but if John Cooper likes Binnington, then we are getting Binnington tonight. And again, fantastic game this afternoon, and how are Canada and the United States hopefully going to top it. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about the game this afternoon, if you did watch it, what you thought about Ekholm and Arvidsson. Of course, very uncharacteristic game here for Matthias Ekholm this afternoon, so hopefully he shakes that off there. And for Team Canada, again, goaltending, Jordan Binnington just showed it on the screen there, an 885 against Sweden. Hopefully he stands his ground against the Americans tonight. But that is it for today's video, folks. Let's go Canada. Canada, USA in Montreal on a Saturday night does not get any better than that. And we'll be back tomorrow for a recap of that game. So hopefully, folks, take care, enjoy the game tonight, and let's go Canada. I'm Matt.